People know I'm working on that. So,
Yeah, I am doing just
check,
that.
check, check. Now I think I just may have switched it on. Let's see. Do we see it now? Mike, I'm not seeing it. Check, check, check. There it is. Headset mic. Okay, looks like that might have done it.
Right, you've got audio.
You can hear
You've
it now?
definitely got audio on the stream. Yeah, I
Okay.
heard you and me.
Okay, great. Excellent.
We're here. We arrived.
We made it. Okay. So I'm running on the new machine now. I have one option set in, I've got one option set over in OBS that's different from before. Where is it? Settings. Let's bring this up so everybody can see what I'm doing here. That might be related. Where is it here? Advanced. No, I think it might have been on stream. Is there an advanced option here? But there's not. Of course, a lot of options are disabled because I'm streaming now. Here it is. That's the option I chose right there. Low latency, high quality.
Okay.
Normally I do go with high quality, and I noticed there's about a 5-second delay between the time I say something and the time it comes out in the stream. And and it looks like it's about the same anyway now if I'm watching the stream. So I'm wondering if I switch over to high quality, if that's going to fix the audio on that. So anyway, like I'm saying, there's a brand new machine setting everything up still. It's still much faster than the other one. It's like it feels like 30% faster across the board in getting things done. I wonder if I can change the quality of that while I'm streaming. It looks like I might be able to. I'm noticing a low bit rate here. Let me just switch over. I'm going to do one more test. I'm going to go to the audio on the startup, because the startup is pretty intense. And let's just do that countdown again, see how that audio sounds. Okay, so that sounded better to me, and Roy said it was smooth on the stream. So
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting. Okay, so so we'll go with high quality for now. That seems like maybe the way to go. So I'm in the middle of updating the new machine. The Dropbox says it's got 17 hours to go.
Wow.
I've got a lot of files that are getting synchronized. Will Bennett's asking, how was Channel 9? I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And I'm actually going to show that feature I've been teasing about that I haven't really given you any indication of what it is yet. And I'm going to show that today. But the thing I was going to say about Dropbox, because it's still synchronizing, is some of the Mr. Announcer Bot features, which I actually don't have Mr. Announcer Bot running yet. So let's get that going. Hold on a second. Here we go. Let's start up PowerShell. Let me bring it up here so everybody sees it. Let me change the video here so everybody can see. We'll at least do that. Whoops. Here we go. We've got PowerShell. Let's get over to the D drive. Let's get over there and let's start up Mr. Announcer Bot. See if Mr. Announcer Bot comes up. Into the chat room, hopefully. Yeah, Will Bennett, I'm showing it today, even though we're announcing officially like tomorrow. Looks like I got an error here. So Mr. Announcer Bot looks like he's not showing up today. I think this is a porting issue. Looks like our viewers are not being loaded up. We've got a problem here in all viewers, line 30. I was looking at that code earlier today, and when I saw this error, so this error is not fixed yet. We might fix this error today. We'll see. It looks like it's not getting the data, and that could either be a Dropbox synchronization issue. Not everything is downloaded yet. So that means that Mr. Announcer kinds of things that we try to do may not work. I've tested a few of them. We're not going to give away a copy of CodeRush today. We'll give away 2 on Wednesday to make up for it. That sort of thing. You can see just getting everything set up. But but let's go ahead. But I can show you. Let's go ahead and we'll talk about the CodeRush feature. So this is a CodeRush feature that I have been trying to build for about 25 years. It's a feature that I've, before there even was a CodeRush, I was trying to build a feature like this. The essence of the feature, well, first let's make an observation. The observation is that the file format for source code essentially never changes. It's always been text the entire time. And this is true of every language, right? It's always a text file format. There are
JavaScript, HTML, C#, VB, Python,
right,
all of them.
But if you compare every other document type that's out there, such as like a document that holds spreadsheets, or a document that holds presentations, or a document that holds documents like Word, those file formats have gone through upgrades over the years, and they've gained abilities to hold more than what their original intentions were. Now,
that's right. Several of them are now full file systems, in fact.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'll buy that. I'll believe that. So, well, when you say file systems, I think what you mean is the ability to hold almost like a directory. Right? Is that what you're talking about, Roy? Yeah. I'm sure that's the case.
Some of them are literally renamed zip files, for example. So they have like directory structure and files and subpieces.
It's a great flexible way to do things. Now, source code hasn't done that. And part of the reason why source code hasn't done that is because of the compiler. You need to have really fast compile times. So it makes pretty much no sense at all to change the format of source code. Right? We don't want to do that. And yet, there's on the other side of the equation, there is an advantage there can be advantages and benefits by changing the format of the source code, by being able to have source code hold more. For example, on screen right here, you see I've got 2 hyperlinks here, and this was a subtle change that Microsoft did. They made it so that if there was a hyperlink inside of a comment, you could control click on it and actually go out there and jump to it. And let's see, have I done that? Yeah, here we go. It's opening up here on my right monitor. Let me go.
And that makes a bunch of sense because computer languages tend to have mechanisms where you can leave yourself comments, which the compiler doesn't need to touch and explicitly will not touch. And therefore, you can effectively give over a little bit of that to almost any purpose you like. And this was a perfectly natural thing. Here's a hypertext link of some description. Why not link to the content from it? It's a very sensible step forward.
Right. So it brings value, right? So I'll give you a little bit about what happened on channel 9 here. So let's see. Let's click on this. I said to Robert, Robert, you are going to be the first human being in history that we are going to take and shrink and inject into source code. And he was like,
did I have to step into a machine for this? This could be really good video.
It was like, okay, so you did not have to step into a machine. It's like that I think Mike TV character from Willy Wonka. I think that's the character's name. So we brought up Robert Green's picture here, and we right-clicked it, and we said copy image. Then I just came over here into some HTML inside a comment, and I just hit the paste key. And I was done. That was it.
That's pretty simplistic usage.
It is.
That's, there's not a lot you can go wrong with there.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And and at first glance, you might look at this, Rory, and you might be like, wait a second, I can't put an image inside of source code, right?
Indeed.
But it kind of
still a text file, right?
Right. But it kind of looks like it's here though at the same time, right? I know that this is impossible, and yet
reality clearly bears out that it isn't.
Yeah, in fact, look, if I hover the mouse over it, I get like a little kind of highlight around it.
Yeah, and we're reacting to it. It's not even just pretending to be there.
Right, and if I click on it, look at this. I've got resize handles all the way around it, just like I have like on a regular document right here. So I can resize it, and if I right-click it, I can crop the image. So I can come in here and crop it like this. And if I go before it, I can insert spaces and position it where I want it on the screen. And if I go after it, I can put text here as well.
So you've blended Instagram and Studio.
Okay.
Kinda.
A little bit. Yeah. So I've got a picture of Robert Greene, right? So what can I do with that? Well, one of the things I can do, let me just copy this URL to the clipboard here. I'm going to right-click this and say link, all right? And then I'm going to say when I click that link, I want to open up a URL, and I'm just going to paste that in.
Oh, very nice.
Okay. And so now when I hover over it, I get a mouse, a little pointer hand, and when I click on that, it's going to open that up for me. So if you are an author and you want to put your picture and you want to put a link to your site, you
Yeah.
can do that. That's kind of a fun thing to do, or a branding kind of thing to do, right? If you're a company, for
Yeah.
example, you could do the same thing. I think I might have, not here, but I have over here, I think I've got a template called DX/DX. And if I expand that template, you're going to see the DevExpress logo. And if I click on it, it'll jump right up there. So this is another thing that you can do with these, is you can set up templates to invoke, to lay down certain images, and images even with links in them, right? And the other thing I should say too, right? So this is, we're in crazy town right now, right? Right. Remember I said that you can edit around them, right? I can undo, right? Let me just undo all these. And when I undo, watch, even the image is going to undo. It's cropping and resizing as well. At least I'm expecting that to happen. Oh, looks like no. I'm going to, hold on a second. Looks like I got a demo bug that just came up. Let me bring that back up. Let me switch over. I'm going to switch over into F# while that loads up. So here I'm over in F#, and in F#, now I don't know F# very well, but there's some pretty complex code out here, right? But I do know math pretty well, right? And so in this example right here, I've got a formula that somebody's dropped down right next to that pretty gnarly F# code. Now the formula for me is actually much easier to read than the F#. I can come in here and I can say, okay, I'm starting to get a sense of what's happening here, right? I'm subtracting two similar variant numbers here, possibly latitude or possibly longitude. And then I'm doing the same over here as well, right? Dividing by 2, and then all of this going in here, square root, and all of that is happening.
You can see the layers a lot easier with this particular way of pictorializing things.
Yes. And often with code, we kind of do things in pieces, but it's not often obvious, especially with complex formulas, what's going on. The other piece that's neat about this is I can come click on this and jump right in here, come in here and say, okay, this is what's going on. It's the Habersign formula that's going on here. And I can come in here.
That's great. So not only have you got the example, the nice pictorial example, but you've got it linked to a nice detailed document online, which again can be improved over time by others in this case, right? Because Wikipedia, right?
Right.
And doesn't have to be checked in with your entirety of your code, but it's a great reference.
Yeah.
So if you need some help understanding this, off you go. Here's the full explanation. Come back. Okay, I understand that now, and now I can proceed. Yeah,
and you talk about augmenting it. I can right-click, copy this image, just come down here, put a comment, paste it in there like that, and then center it, move it out to the center like that, put it where I want it to be. Now, one of the things that I can do is I can put a backtick right here after the comment delimiters, and when I move away from that, it'll hide those comment delimiters. So it's essentially like an image floating in space if I want to have that. So if I want to do something where it's not obviously comment, I can do that and put that out there. I can set up links here as well, just like I did before. I can come in, I can resize it. I can resize into scaling independently. And I can do other things like restoring original image, original scale, and even the aspect ratio if I change that. For example, if I were to come in here and say, well, let's make it like that, and then later I want to restore that aspect ratio there, I can come in and do that, and I'm back to a 1-to-1. So nice. I can do that. One other thing that I can do that's kind of nice. Let's go back over into our AnnouncerBot piece, and let's open up that game that we're working on. Let's see, where is that? Right here. Let's open that up. So we'll view that in a browser. We'll take a look at that. And this is a slight variation of it. This is the demo version of this. Let's see, where's that opening up? I'm not seeing that open up anywhere yet. Where are we? Huh. Here it comes. That's bizarre. Okay, here we go. So here's the game as it was slightly changed. So I've got our channel name right out here in the middle, and there's our spaceship. And you'll notice that in our spaceship, there's something slightly off. Oh, by the way, I don't know if hold on a second. I think do I have meteors dropping and exploding in this one? Let's see. Boom. I don't think I had them exploding last time. So I wanted to show that. So we've got the explosions running, which is pretty cool. All right. So,
That's nice.
but one of the things that you may notice on this, if we come in, the thing I love, by the way, is if we were doing this before on the old machine, I'd be at 100%. And look at that. Does that make everybody happy?
Oh, that is much better.
I've got all these. These things are like running at like 60 frames a second. I think here, this smooth animation spinning. I've got all of this stuff happening over here. Let's move this and get the meteors dropping and explosions going. See how bad it gets. Yeah, it's like, look at this. I'm streaming. It's like insane. But one of the things you may have noticed about this is that, wait, this looks a little different than before. Let me just take a screenshot of this. What's wrong with my rocket? And let's go over into my rocket.js file over here. And let's come up here at the top. In fact, let's not go here. Let's use Visual Studio's function to go find draw, my draw function, and it's right here. We'll jump out to it. And I'm right now in my draw function. There's a problem I noticed in the draw. Let me just paste that in. Let's come in. We're going to crop that image like that. Okay. Right about there. And then now let's come in and go pixel scale and jump it up to like maybe 400%. And when I do a pixel scale, notice if I do, by the way, a regular, just change it a bit. See how it's all kind of blurry? But a pixel scale is going to keep the individual pixels there. So I can
so it's not going to attempt to anti-alias anything. It's not smoothing it out. It's giving you the exact zoom, pixel perfect, as it were.
Exactly. Let me come in here. Let me crop this image a little bit closer, a little tighter to the problem area. Right there. And I guess you could even argue it's there, right? Like that. We'll come out like that. Let's go in. We're going to pixel scale that up to 800%. Now I can see the problem, right? My engine isn't quite lined up, and I need to fix it, right? But I can take this, and I'm going to just copy that to the clipboard. I'm going to just kind of move it down a little bit lower in the code, right? And I'll put it in like maybe right there, right? And I want to show this before, because we had a problem before. I want to just do an undo on this and redo, and just go through all the changes. There's my undo and redo, right, as I'm going through all of those. And there's my redo going back right through all of those right there, right? It's the images work with undo and redo. They work with cut and copy. So I can take, like, say, for example, this code, maybe this code right here, cut it to the clipboard, come up here and paste it, right? Or undo that and bring it back down. I can copy images with code and paste them in as well.
So basically all your image manipulation, whether it be pasting in, moving around, resizing, is just as much a natural part of your studio experience as just the normal entering of code. It's all on the undo stack, it's all on the redo stack, exactly as it would be for any other operation that you do, which means it's perfectly natural to use. It's going to fit with your workflow every bit, just straight away drop in kind of an effect.
Yeah, exactly. I had a question out there on how many cores on the new machine. My understanding is that there were 6 cores. 6 cores, 12 logical processors is what I've got.
Nice.
So that's what's going on there. So in general, I'm pretty pleased with the new machine, and I think we are. I think we're close to getting in the right direction where we want to be. Looks like I don't have semicolons on the end over here of these 2 lines. Interesting. I noticed these problems before, but the code still works. So it's like JavaScript is kind of like figures it out, even if there's missing a semicolon on the end. So kind of weird, but okay. All right, so let's see. I've got that, and then let's go into something that's like a little more meatier. Okay, so here I've got a function called getLineIntersection. And this is in a JavaScript class called Plain3D. The binary logic asks, does the machine coincide with a feature? No, it does not at all. You shouldn't have, there's no performance really. That's the thing, there's no performance here. I should say that the feature, so you can embed images with no impact, or maybe essentially no impact on compile time, on file size. It's not going to be something you notice anymore from a regular comment. In other words, the image is not stored in the source file. So it doesn't impact compile times any more than a small short comment would impact a compile time. It doesn't impact file size any more than a short small comment would impact the compile time. Triple Diamond says, good afternoon, by the way. Let's make sure. Roy, take a look at the chat room. Make sure I haven't missed anything out there.
I'm having a quick check out here now. Actually, there's one there interesting. Will Bennett says he's fairly sure he used to put UML diagrams in Delphi using CodeRush. Is this the case?
Yeah, Delphi had it, but we had problems with storage. The storage was always a tricky problem to solve, and actually sharing with team members was somewhat hard and tricky to do. But Delphi could do this. Like I say, I've been trying to do this for 25 years. I feel like for the first time, we've got it nailed. We've nailed every single problem that makes this impossible to do. And so I feel pretty good about that. So we fixed storage, we fixed sharing, right? So one of the things that's very cool about this is that if I copy an image, let's say I've got a company image and I want to paste it in all of my files. If the moment I paste it the second time, there's no additional hit on hard disk space in terms of where we place this. We see that it's the same image you've already pasted, and we simply reference that same image. So we've got a real efficient use of what we're storing. So if you've got 1,000 files, you would put your logo in 1,000 files, you're only going to have one logo image that's going to come out there. We give you also the ability to take that shared image and modify it, and then paste the original back in and still have both, the modified and the new, right? So when you think you're pasting the new one, you still see the new one, even though you've modified that existing one out in storage, right? So we've solved storage efficiently. I'm going to have a white paper out that explains how we do this. There's no proprietary technology. We are going to tell everyone exactly how we're doing this. So if somebody wants to duplicate this, by all means, they can do this. But we've nailed storage, we've nailed sharing, we've nailed cutting and copying to the clipboard, we've nailed sharing among applications, we've nailed the UI. The UI is like incredibly easy to do. You copy an image.
How hard is copy and paste, eh?
Right, right. The burden we put on you is this. Here, I'll show you the burden. Here it is. But let's talk about this right here. Get line intersection. Get line intersection determines if a line intersects this plane. It's a JavaScript class. It's a plane defined by these A, B, C, and D variables. And then if we look at this equation, if we look at this code, it's not entirely clear what's happening here, right? We've got, well, it looks like we're taking some differences of x between the two different points of the line. So we've got a line.q and a line.p. We're getting the x, and we're then multiplying that by a, and then we're taking the y, we're multiplying that by b, the y delta by b, and you can kind of follow this out and get a sense of what's happening.
I imagine. I see a Wikipedia article there, and I can imagine that when I'm looking through this code, I'm bringing that up on another screen because I need to see both at the same time, right? I'm going to either that or I'm going to switch between the two rapidly, and that's going to involve rather complex context switching because I've got to find the right place in the Wikipedia article to reference the thing I'm currently trying to understand. It's not going to be a simple process, right?
Yeah. That's my sense as well. And so let's go out here. Here it is right here. It looks like it was opening it up. It just wasn't bringing me out to the page when I was clicking on it. And here's the page, line plane intersection. And if we come over here, we see a graphic here. And the graphic, if we come back to the code, we notice that we return null in this situation. We return a line here, and we return a 3D point here. And the bizarre thing is why we're returning a line or a null, right? When you're first thinking about an intersection, you're thinking about it's going to look like this. But then the graph explains, oh, it could be in parallel, right? Adjusted by an offset, or it could be contained in it. And you're like, okay, so I'll right click, I'll choose copy image like this. I'm going to come over here, right where we're returning null. Well, you know what I want to show there is the no intersection. So I'm going to crop the image. So I'll just come over here like this. I could do that, like that. Right? Now that I've got that, by the way, the burden that I said we had, the burden is this. You have to do that. You have to put a comment and then paste. That's your burden.
Well, comment is a natural thing to do when you're about to invoke any kind of explanation. So the fact that you're now going with a pictorial explanation is no different, really, than if you were about to type some text anyway. Yeah,
exactly. It's really not too bad. And if you've already got a comment there, you just paste it in. Now I just copy that. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, come down here and paste right here, say crop one more time, and I'm going to go select a point like this.
So you pasted the same image 3 times, but cropping it to 3 different locations within that image. So you're already saving sort of storage and what have you. And if you didn't have the cropping quite right, a quick and easy adjustment is obviously that simple.
Yeah. And so I've got that. I can remove the original comments, or I could, the other thing I could do too that I was doing before with this that I really liked was something more like this, where I keep the text. So let me just copy this to the clipboard instead and kind of redo it. I'll paste over that, and we're going to come in, right click, crop this image. This is line contained in plain, and come over here and paste over it, and then right click, choose crop image. And all I'm doing is just moving this over here. This is parallel, so it's right here, right? Just moving it in the right spot. And now what I have is kind of a cool document, right? It kind of says, here is what's happening, right? And as I go through, the cool thing about this now is that this function is now going to bring a new developer up to speed that much faster. That's one of the benefits, right? When I come in here and I look at this, I say, oh, I get it. The line is in parallel. I instantly see that. It's about the time to absorb that and understand it is about 250 milliseconds. That's what it takes the brain to do. Now, to read or to click on the article to go out and read it, or to read a longer comment is going to take more time, right? So what I'm gaining is I'm shaving off seconds here, right? And the other thing I gain here is as I scroll through the code, I get, it's kind of like a signposting. I get instant recognition. I know what function I'm in right now, right?
Yeah. I also think that it reduces the apparent size of the function. I'm now looking at that almost as if it was 3 separate functions. Because if I came into this function wanting to know about not, missing the line altogether, it's very apparent which section I need to look at. There's a return null immediately beneath it, and I now know I don't really need to consider the rest of the code after that because that's the use case I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a question.
And equally, the other two pieces are very similar.
Yeah, there's a question out in the chat room. What does this look like if I open this up in like VS Code? Well, VS Code, the feature doesn't exist yet, and that's all I'm going to say on that. But I will say that if I toggle rich comments off, you'll see what it looks like. So it looks like this, right? So we have essentially markdown is what we're seeing here. Now, one of these things you can do is you're free to put whatever you want in here, right? You can add whatever text you want here if you want to explain this to users who are not in there. So we can say, for example,
that's literally the alt text of the image world, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's the alt text, right? So if you open it up in another editor, it'll look like that. If you do a difference engine on it, it'll look like that. The other cool thing about this, right, is that if I keep pasting that, if I go in and modify the image, this doesn't change, but the image will change. Like I could actually open this image up on disk, for example. In fact, I think we have a link to it, open file location, right? So if I choose open file location, you can come out there and you can see the images that are out there, and there's the image right there. So that's what it looks like. So it's essentially, if we don't make any changes to it, by the way, here, let's go back out again. If we make changes to it, such as we crop it or we rescale it, you'll see numbers out here. But if you don't, you're just going to see this right here, which is that PNG file. That PNG file is located right out in the CodeRush directory. In fact, let's go up here and I'll show it to you when I come out here. It's located in the .cr settings of the project. So .cr images. So this is what you would upload to version control so everybody else on your team could see it. Okay, so that's how it works. What's cool about it, it's incredibly short, right? We don't specify a path, although you can. In other words, if you want to come in here and specify a path to a file on your machine, or you can put a path here if you want to and make it work. It will not work with, it does not work with URLs. It will not show an image from a URL. There were some technical issues that need to be solved before we can deliver that feature that impacted stability and because of the asynchronous nature of it. And so that's not supported in this version. It might be in a future release though. Might be coming.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat room there. The Simon Gearing's saying, interesting feature, but 2 questions come to mind. What does that do to my commit diff in Git? And 2, given that you were editing the crop subsequently, does that mean that it's storing the whole image rather than just the cropped part? Well, I have the feeling that perhaps what you were just saying then, Mark, probably explains this. When we copy and paste the image in, we're getting 1 copy of that image.
Right.
And that's stored in a CR folder off slightly to the side of the solution.
Right.
Then what you insert into the code is an intelligent comment, essentially, a structural comment that says which of the images that we're storing are we going to use as a base,
Right.
which part of that image would you like to put on screen, and of course, would you like any alternate text, which means you can put 100 copies of the same image in there, different pieces of that same image, and essentially you store the image once and just the pieces, the instructions, as it were, to crop the right piece for any given instance.
Right.
So in terms of what you're going to get diffing, if you want a different cropped area, you're going to get a change in 4 numbers. That's essentially it.
That's
you
correct.
Move your crop slightly.
Right. Look at
So
the file
very, very
names.
simplistic diffs.
Look at these file names for these 3 pieces here. 3571, 3571, 3571. They all end in 7542, 7542. They're all the same file image. When we go out there and say open that file location up and we bring that up, there's only one of these images out here, right? Notice I have some other images in here. You might be wondering about those. Let's go over into C# here. Let's scroll down. I'm going to show you, let's see, this in a second. But at first, I'm going to go here. Why all the hard-coded strings? What about localization? By the way, there's a subtle CodeRush feature going on here. This is our original feature that the image embedding is based on. It's rich comments, which allows us to have a bolded hard-coded word here and a bolded localization word here. And so if I were to click inside, you can see, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I've got some markdown here, right, in both of these. So it's already supporting markdown already. But one of the things I can do is if I, for example, I type in, I think, scare, I can do that. And I can now, so if I'm doing a code review, right, and I want someone to get someone's attention, get the whole team's attention, I can have an image out there.
They're scrolling through this code. They're seeing that. That's not going unnoticed, is it?
Right, and I could use a Visual Studio Code snippet or CodeRush code template to just very quickly put out that image. And all I've done is I've taken that image, I dropped it once, I cropped it, I copied it all, went up and created a snippet or a code template for it, and I put that image in the project. And so everybody's got one of these in the project, and everybody's also got one of these. Like if I say nice, for example, like that, I can do that. And if I say /pu, like that, I can get something like this, right? So I can very quickly get somebody's attention, which is also really useful. Like, you know, when we do live coding, Rory, sometimes I say, oh, this code's not so good. I'm going to start marking it. So the next time I come in, I'm like, yeah, I know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I am not going to leave that icon in my code for long, right? Because I don't want other people to see it, right? So it's a great motivator there. Let's go back up to here and we'll look at this piece right here. And actually, I want to change this because this doesn't apply. What really applies is the /scare. Right there. So let's do this. This code scares me, right? Because I've got hard-coded strings. I need to localize. I want to show this. So here I've got I'm going to settings.default.twitch.bot/OAuth token here, right? This is something that I can access through my settings. If I come up here and I click this right here, this is just an embedded image with a link. And if I click it, it's going to bring up my announcer bot settings and allow me to get access to that Twitch.OAuth token. Now, anybody who's thinking, oh, I'm going to freeze the screen right now and make Mr. Announcer Bot suddenly become alive again, don't worry. We're not in the real project. I've obfuscated all of these. They're not real. Question, Simon Gearing asks, do you constrain it to a single line comment? The answer is yes. This is always going to be a single line comment, although you can put these in multi-line comments as well. So, but the part we put in...
So the piece of markdown is single line, but it can be, several of them within a single multi-line comment just as easily.
Yes, exactly. That's what's going to happen. And so here you can see, oh, what's happening? It's going to bring up called the Visual Studio Command project properties. In fact, if I right-click this and choose link like this, you can see there it is. So you can bind this to any Visual Studio command. For example, you can
That's got to be useful.
Yeah, you can decide for yourself, or any CodeRush command. But when you have a command that's related to what's there, it makes sense. By the way, I think we're going to add the ability to open up any file on disk. So it's not just open URL, but open any file and possibly open any exe as well. We don't have it yet. I want to talk to her. I want to make sure we talk about it and we, get a sense of, ask the question, are there security issues with this or not? My sense is they are not huge, but the value added is potentially big. It's the same thing as being able to go into the tools menu and being able to set up your own tools, right? Which I think is it this one, or no, it's external tools, I think. It's this menu, being able to add your own external tools kind of thing, but be able to put a link out somewhere in the code, right? Maybe you for example, maybe you've got a code generator and you can put a link in the generated code to regenerate itself. For example, you could do that if you needed to do that. Those are some of the things you can do. Let me do one more thing. Let me start up Excel, and I'll show you like the last kind of cool use case for this that you can do here. Let's see, shortcut bindings. Let's bring that up. So here is essentially a spec that I've got for shortcut bindings for this game that we're talking about. I've already bound keys to enter, right, up, left, down, and C for releasing the chutes, and enter, extending and retracting the engines. But what I want to do is now bind shortcuts for dropping for these last pieces here. So I'm just going to select this, right click it, copy this part of the spec, right? Go over to main. This is where I've got my more key bindings in the handle key down event here, right? But add a comment. And by the way, I think I can do this. Look at this, right click, I can choose paste image. Look what we did. Right there. And then I just paste that in there. And now I've got my spec, a temporary spec in the source code, right? This is super powerful, right? It's called information in parallel. And this is one of the design guidelines that I talk about in the course, The Science of Great UI, right? Where you have information in parallel, because it's much faster to move your eyes up and down or left and right than it is to reach for the mouse or Alt-Tab to the spec, that sort of thing. So, and
you're also not limited to the language in which you're developing, or indeed, just to English or whatever your native language is. The pictorial nature of this just makes it really obvious. I know we've got text there, but there's really nothing quite like saying the shortcut B drops the blue meteor, and there it is, right? It's so obvious, right?
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to misinterpret that.
Yeah. Like I can come in here and I can say volume of a cone equation, like that. It's already in there. And I can come in here, let's go in and take a look at what kind of images that we have out here, right? And I can come grab an image like this one right here, which I like. Come in here, right click that, copy the image. Notice there's transparency. Yeah, we have support for transparency, which is really cool, right? If you've got a black background, you'll see a black background behind this, or a dark background, whatever. You'll see that if it's a transparent image. And there it is. I just pop that in there, and now I can use it as my reference, and maybe I don't need it for the lifetime of the code. Maybe I just want it while I'm working on it, right? And then I can kill it, get rid of it once I'm done. So some pretty cool stuff that you can do here with this, right? You can do it. You can, oh, this is really awesome. Look at this. I never noticed this. Look at this. It's got a 1/3 plus 2/3 equals 1. In other words, the ratio, the volume of a sphere plus the volume of a cone with the same radius is equal to the volume of a cylinder. Is that really true?
Is that true?
I think that's really true.
If that is, that's awesome.
That feels like
I'd never spotted that either.
I'm feeling like this is exciting.
You could literally unwrap the sphere around the cone and fill in the missing piece of the cylinder.
Right. So Simon Gearing says, would be good if it was a URL and then it embedded a preview of the URL rather than embedding the asset itself. I embed a link to VSTS work item and I see a preview in code. Yeah, I like that, Simon. We've talked about something similar for YouTube videos. For example, being able to
an initial frame, so to speak.
If you have a URL for a YouTube video, show you the video link with the play button and then play it right in the code. With abilities to go full screen, that sort of thing, if you want to. And the full screen would just take over the viewer, right? It wouldn't change the image size. Will Bennett's asking, are they collapsible? Are the images collapsible? Not yet, but we are talking about that. So that is also something the team is talking about. But you can do this. You can simply turn off. This if you want to, like that, and then turn it back on. But we don't have rich comments on and collapsible images. But
are they not collapsible if they are the first and only comment in that block? Is that not the default Visual Studio anyway?
No, they're not collapsible. Oh, you mean right here?
See, that one's collapsible. It collapses the whole block. So
because it's multiple.
If you had a gap between, would it allow that?
Let's see what's going on. Yeah, it's still considering it all one, I think. Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's, wonder if it's just, if I just take the one, is it become collapsible? Holy cow. No, it's not. Okay, it's not collapsible. So you have to have kind of like, you know, 2 lines, I suppose. Is that what it takes? And now it's collapsible. Is that it? Yeah, it's got to be a multi-line comment is what it looks like, and Visual Studio will do it automatically. We're talking
yeah.
about adding this, Will. We're talking about adding the ability to do it, but it won't be a 1.0 feature. It might be the next sprint or something. Will Bennett says close enough, so he's happy with that. You've got 2 workarounds there, right? You've got that, plus you've got the ability to turn off rich comments, and I think there's a command for this to toggle this, and if there's not, adding that is so simple, it's crazy. We could add that for you easily by the next sprint. So, what else? Any other? We were talking. We was talking about if we're good. I want to go back to what Simon was talking about. The URL. I think that's a good idea for a feature. That is a feature that's going to take some time to kind of figure out and get the preview. We've got that asynchronous problem there that we need to solve. There's problems with regards to setting the line height asynchronously that we need to solve with Visual Studio, and we didn't have time to solve it in this release. So that we would need to solve before we could do that. Simon also says, I agree with Will, definitely needs to be collapsible, and remember the expand collapse toggle. Okay, we will take note of that. I'll talk to the devs about that. Or the ability to embed that live sample code capability that Microsoft does on docs.microsoft.com. So I want to take a look at that too. I'm not sure about that. Let's click that link and bring that up, see if there's something we can see what's going on there, the live sample code. I think you're talking about in the documentation. I think I need to get some sort of tutorial up, and I think you're talking about the sample code kind of that I'm hoping to see if I click enough links like this. Is that what you're talking about? I think that that might be it, Simon. There was a question: do we support GIFs? No, only static images right now, Will. Only static images. One of the things we did is we fenced this in pretty tightly to static images. You're right. You can put any static image any static image you want in and crop it, but that's our fencing. And adding GIF support will depend, I think, on customer feedback, saying we want to put GIFs in. For example, adding, this other, I'll definitely talk to the devs about these ideas. I think that it's the collapsible, highly likely to see that coming in an upcoming sprint with the ability to remember which pieces are collapsed. I think that's also highly likely. I think that the asynchronous problem, I think, is likely as well, that we're going to solve that, which means you'll be able to link to a URL, see a preview, and I think with that there will be UI options that'll come with it, such as like show a thumbnail or show the actual image, right? And if we show the thumbnail, what's that thumbnail size going to be? That sort of thing. Simon Gearing says, coming back to, wait, hold on. So Will Bennett says, I think in the Delphi version you could link to another code file in the project. Is that available? Should be available already. But I think we have to find a CodeRush command that gets us there. So we would do this, execute CodeRush command, and then is there a file open? Looks like I don't have a file open in here that I'm expecting to see. I wonder if Visual Studio probably has it, but doesn't have the ability to take a parameter to it. Bookmark go-to. We could do that. So let's come over here and set a bookmark here, which is, as I'm recalling, Control-Alt-1. I just set that there. There's my bookmark. Now let's come over here and let's go execute CodeRush command, get a bookmark go-to, and pass in a 1. And see what happens when we click. Wait, why didn't it work? Link, I didn't even see my... I said, hold on. Did it not work? Bookmark go-to, 1. Did I not hit OK? Or did something else fail? There, I hit OK. Yeah, it's not working. Wow, I'm sad. Okay, looks like I may have a problem there. I wonder if I just do that. Do I get the problem there? Ooh, it worked there. It didn't like the parens. Okay, so it looks like I've got a bug in here. But let me see. Can I manually fix the bug? Oh, it looks like I can't because of the syntax here. So I can't pass in parameters here. So we'll fix this bug before we ship. I think it's highly likely we'll do that. We're about to ship in like a day or two, but I think we can get that. I don't know if I can, if that's going to work or not. Yeah, it looks like it doesn't work. So we need another way. There's got to be some other way of passing in parameters to it. So yeah, I'm not sure what those are. That's why that link didn't work. Interesting. I wonder if I could do that. That makes, and would it be smart enough to do it? No, not. Okay. So that is what we would need to fix. So yeah, but I think the answer is we'll get there by the time we ship, and if not, it'll be something that we'll fix shortly after we ship. Okay, Simon says, coming back to the comments I've made previously, is that you have to realize a growing chunk of your customer base are now cross-platform, or even those teams wholly on Windows are using both VS Code and VS 2017 on the same code base. So as nice as this is, it is of limited use when my front-end devs can't see the same documentation. That is an awesome point. So that is, like, from my perspective, a compelling reason to release this standalone as a free feature for Visual Studio Code, only the commenting pieces, if we can get it to working. If we can get it to work under VS Code. I'm not sure if we can or not. Simon Gearing says not to find a point on it. If you build CodeRush for VS Code, then enough said, take my money already. So I think what we'd be more likely to see is only the comment embedding coming to VS Code for free. That's what I could see us happening. That's what I'd want to do. Yeah, so I think that's it. That's kind of the essence of it. Number of possible benefits. You've got branding. You've got explaining code that's visual code. You've got signposting. I didn't really show signposting. Let me show you that. I showed it a little bit, but let me just show that so it's super obvious what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go in here to my spinning rock, my meteor. I'm going to open this up. This PNG file, this is one of my assets. I'm going to Control A to select all, Control C to copy it, go over into my Meteor file right up here, and inside a comment, I'm just going to paste that in there like that. And so now I've got this kind of visual signposting. That's what I'm talking about, right? So at important areas of code you want to come back to, well, I'm at this method. I know this very well because I've got this visual signpost here. I recognize it, whatever it is. Inside my Rocket class that I've been developing, I can actually put, in these places where I've got just plain old text up here at the top. Let's see, where are we? Right up here. Right here, I can let me just put a marker here. Let's go back down to that other image. Where is it? Here, this one right here. Copy that to the clipboard, jump back up here, paste in, and now I'm just gonna crop it. Let's restore my original scale on this. Let's crop the image. Let's grab over here, and now we can just kind of get a sense of what that piece is. I can grab that like that, for example, and now right next to the left engine code, I've got an image of the left engine. So I don't have to, parse this or, hope that I'm not dyslexic.
There's no interpretation to be done. There's no language back into concept because the concepts are visual. It's right in front of you. There's just so much less cognitive load going on.
Right. I can even come in here, shrink it down so it's the same size as the line, and pop it out at the end of the line like that, right? So now I've got it right over there, right at the end of the line, right? Very cool kind of little things that you can do there. I can set up links to Visual Studio and CodeRush functionality, like we saw right here, right, where I click that link and it brings that up, and I can modify that. I can send messages out to my other developers, right, talking about the code. I can put temporary messages out in the code that, let me just undo all this and get back to where we were before. There it is right there, where I have the spec, right?
Yep.
Right, of what I want to do, kind of a temporary spec. And I can do branding, right? For example, if I want to talk about the show, I could put, there's my, follow me out here to win free copies of CodeRush. Or I can talk about DevExpress, right, like that, with links in the code. So I can do all those kinds of things with this. I can do it in CSS, HTML, C#,
JavaScript,
Visual Basic, JavaScript, TypeScript, I think XAML as well, though I haven't tested that yet, but I'm pretty sure we're supporting XAML. And we're
Sure.
likely to support additional languages as we move forward, because once the engine is in place, supporting a new language is pretty easy, right? So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Like to illustrate, wait. Will is saying, so no animation, but when clicked, can it cycle through several images? No, Will, we don't have that. But if you want to ask, so he wants to illustrate removing a node from a binary search tree. We do not have that. We could do that, but the expense of that is that if we're going to cycle through several images, you're going to have a comment that's going to, be long, right? It could look like something, like this kind of thing. That might be what the syntax is. It might go out to the end of the line like that. So, so we could, it's something we could add, but we would have to. I kind of want to get a sense of a use case for that. So if I got a sense that it applied to a lot of developers, that would be cool. Simon Gearing says it would also be worth thinking about exposing metadata to VS Code analyzers, since this would be one of those features that you would want to ensure some sanity in the use of. Stopping the junior dev on the team from going a bit OTT with it, for example. OTT, over the top, I think is what that acronym is. I totally agree. I think, in fairness, my demo is OTT, right? In fairness, I'm kind of saying, here's everything you can do. But I think in reality, what happens is you're going to have a place in your code where you're going to be like, oh, you know what? I need to use that. And that one place or two places or three places, it's going to be really essential there and provide a lot of value. And in other places in the code, it'll probably be more temporary, is what I see.
And even if somebody does go over the top with it, I mean, they're still going to check it in, right? It's still going to have their name assigned to this edit in your code, which, albeit just the piece of markdown, it will attribute back to them, and someone's going to go along and say, look, rein it back in a bit.
Yeah. Now,
so improving code and comments at the same time.
As far as this idea of exposing metadata to VS Code analyzers, I don't think there's really anything we have to do. And the reason why is because the comment format is essentially serves as the metadata. You're looking for a markdown comment. You see that in the code with a file name here. You don't even have to actually look to see if there's a file name. That's going to be an image, right? If CodeRush is installed and running.
Yeah.
And so if you want to look for that as a VS analyzer, you can do that, right? So you can do that. Will's saying, don't know if I missed this. When click could it open a bit of code, say link pad, so you could play around with it? Yeah, not yet, but now you've given me a use case scenario that really emphasizes what I want to add. I want to add that ability so that when we click on something, when we click on something, we can open up a file and maybe even pass in. Like if I had a link here to an image, like let me just go out and grab, let me grab an image somewhere out here. Do I have, here we go. Let me just grab something. Let me do this. Let me grab I want to get a cool sphere image out here. And what do I like the best? I don't know. I guess I'll grab that one right there. So I'll copy that image. We'll come in here. We'll paste that in. And now what I want to do is in the link is I want to be able to say open file, right? Or open file and then pass in data. And one of the data pieces I could pass in would be maybe the following method body or something like that, or the following method name, or the current method name and the current class name, or something along those lines.
Sure.
So you could go pass to an external tool. The external tool could do something. So yeah, we want to go there. We're looking for use case scenarios. So Will, if you want to, you've got my email. Will, send me an email with these ideas of what you need, and I will push those to the team, and we will push to build those in the next sprint. Which means in 30 days, I think we'll have what you're asking for. I think that's totally possible to do.
I can see a whole set of departments just sort of standardizing on certain ways of doing things. So you've got that little cog icon in there, literally translating to settings, and it's very obvious that that's what that means. So I can see lots of little places around the code with a little cog going, and here's the related setting, here's the related setting. Equally, you might have somebody who puts some kind of symbolism that would mean API or documentation or I think this is a bad way of doing things. Here is my reference to some place on the web where there's a discussion on why this is a bad way and maybe what the best alternative is. And you're kind of leaving these breadcrumbs around in the code just to show, I think this needs improving. This is maybe, a really good example of something. We should come discuss this at a code review. All these kinds of things, just sort of visually popping pieces of code out for different reasons.
Yeah. Will Bennett says, you don't want to do that. I can be very demanding. You'd be busy for years, is what he says. It looks like I'm still streaming.
That's a good idea, Will.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it looks like I'm still streaming. I'm gonna refresh over here because I think my preview is like kind of hung up from earlier. Let's see if I can get that back. I'm not sure if Will's responding exactly to what you were saying or before when I was saying Will send me an email. No,
I think that was it.
I used to say in the Delphi CodeRush for Delphi days, I want the most demanding customers in the world, and I still want that. So send us what you want, and we'll work on that and figure that out. So that's it. If there are any other questions, I'll kind of wait for a second here. But I want to emphasize that I've heard what you've said. I'm going to talk to the devs about the idea of working with files on disk, about being able to like bring up LinkPad for example, to try things out. Talking about GIF animation or cycling through. There's a kind of a live data request as well, being able to show some sort of live data. And I really want to get use case issues on that. My email address is it's markm at the devexpress.com domain. So you can send me an email there if you want to. I just put the first part, Mark M, out there in the chat room, so you can see that if you want to. And I think with that, it feels like not our standard show, but not a bad show.
No, a little break from the norm. No, not at all. Well, look, thanks very much, Mark, for this, let's face it, a whiz around a pretty neat tool. So many use cases. I'm sure this is going to take some kind of length of time just to absorb the possibilities, really. I'm already sort of got my mind firing in several different directions, and I have to say they're all good. So it's good to see. Thank you very much indeed.
All right. Thanks a lot, Roy. Appreciate being here, and we'll see you on Wednesday.